give it just another minute. We've got a couple people filtering in. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and get this meeting started. I'd like to thank everybody for attending today. Good afternoon. My name is Ryan Coleman, and I'm the Director of Economic Development for Columbia, South Carolina. And I'm here today on behalf of the Insurance Technology and Services Cluster of Columbia, also known by the acronym Its.Cola. And we're here to welcome you today to our first Lunch and Learn series focused on mentoring and leadership. Quick word of introduction about Its.Cola. Our organization is comprised of insurance-related companies here in the Columbia area who are all working together to promote the growth and development of our local companies, to recruit, retain, and develop top industry talent and leadership, and to make Columbia, South Carolina a nationwide destination for the insurance industry. And we're incredibly excited that all of y'all have taken time out of your day to join us. With that being said, it's my privilege to officially turn this program over to our moderator and one of our esteemed members of our talent committee, Mr. Gabe Cosio, National Sales Director for Duck Creek. Gabe, take it away.
Thanks, Ryan, and thanks everybody. We really appreciate everybody taking time throughout your lunch to join us today for this exciting panel discussion. I have the privilege of introducing our two panelists, and we'll do so here in a second. And as Ryan mentioned, I'm on our go-to-market organization with Duck Creek Technologies here in Columbia, South Carolina. So I really believe in Columbia and what we're doing here with this mission, and really hoping that everybody that's joined us today gets a lot out of today's Q&A with our guests. So with that being said, let me go ahead and introduce our two guests. We have Caroline Berman first to start, who's a Senior VP at Hecht Harrison. Caroline brings over 25 years of experience from an operational perspective and a program management perspective in the insurance and technology space. She's implemented over 20 core system implementations throughout her career, and has just a vast knowledge and expertise in end-to-end implementations of software. Worked with some of the major industry players throughout the insurance tech, including Sapiens and Fast Technology, One Insure, Innovation Group. And just from end to end, certainly with all of her background, has had the privilege of mentoring teams and overseeing successful projects. Second, we have Tadepalli, who's the CIO of Seibels Insurance, based here in Columbia, South Carolina. Rao also brings over a quarter century of experience to the table, and just an incredible background and experience ranging from mentoring to InsurTech startups. He's had the privilege of attending and as a speaker and a challenger in the FinTech Festival held in India a couple of years ago, and just in general brings a ton of experience to the table. So really excited to introduce both Caroline and Rao. I hope you get a lot out of today's discussion. And since we do have limited time, I want to get right into it. So first question here, and we'll have Caroline kick it off with us. Caroline and Rao, insurance isn't always a direct path from graduation straight into an industry job. And many of us take winding career paths before we end up in insurance. Caroline, first, if you can kick it off for us and tell us about your background and what led you into the industry.
It's an interesting story. I was actually born into it. I'm third generation in the insurance space. And I'll confess, I spent all of my education years trying to figure out how to get out of insurance. So I decided I'd be super smart and I'd pursue a technology career. And what did I do? Landed a job in an insurance company. And so goes the story. It's in my blood, and no regrets at all. I love this industry and always will.
Thanks, Caroline. Rao, over to you.
Well, I heard a story some time ago that most people end up in insurance by accident. I'm not saying all of them, but most of them. So I must say that that's how it happened to me. I am in the technology. I studied computer science and worked in consulting roles in my initial part of the career. And then, almost like 30 years ago, I came from India as a consultant with an insurance company based out of Santa Barbara, California. And since that time, I have been in the insurance industry, so that's how I ended up. And but couple of things I want to share apart from myself, because I did say that quite a few people end up in insurance by accident. I actually met an extremely successful executive in the insurance, and she was telling me a story about how she ended up in the insurance when she was in college at one of the Ivy League schools. That those days they needed to kind of put in their resume in a box with the names of the companies for the interview. So she wanted to apply for General Electric, and by mistake she dropped her resume in Gen Re, which is an insurance company. And she called for an interview, and apparently the university policy is that if you apply, you must attend the interview, otherwise you will not be allowed to apply for any more. So she felt, okay, I'm going to go and check it out. And Gen Re was so impressed with her, they offered a job that she couldn't refuse. And then she ended up taking the job. And, she spent all her career with insurance. And, she's extremely successful. But a lot of times what I came across is people might not choose insurance as something that they kind of aspire to be. Like, it's not something like where a lot of people will see role models like basketball players or football players or something like that. But I think, insurance industry is really one of the best, in my opinion, very stable industry. And one unique thing I want to share with the audience here about many unique things, but there's one unique thing I'll share with it is most industries, you can find out what is the cost for making the product. Like if Apple knows exactly to the penny how much it costs for them to make an iPhone, and then they add the margins and profitability and everything, and then that's how they set the price of what they're selling, the sale price. But insurance is not like that. When we buy a policy from an insurance company, the premium is what's called an estimated premium. Like we buy an auto policy, what we pay is an estimate that maybe it's like $1,000 an year, just as an example. But then if you end up having some claims and the company actually paid $2,000 on that one claim, that means, that was not, the company lost money on your policy. But the company has to kind of estimate what the policy premium would be based on the past experience and so many other factors like, your driving experience and which neighborhood you're staying and the car and everything. So all these variables of historical data is taken into account. So a lot of times when people say about analytics and all, it may be new to other industries, but analytics and data is not new to insurance. The actuaries have basically lived on analytics and those kind of things for a long, long time. So insurance is a great industry, and I highly recommend people to kind of pursue a career in that. It's fun, very stable, and that's kind of what I want to add.
Well, that's great. Thank you. And, that's a great segue into our next question, especially with, the younger generation that's on the call today, listening in and hoping to learn something from both of you. Now, Caroline, let me have you kick off with this next question. And it's really, what's your favorite role that you ever had in the insurance space? And, why did you like it? And if you have a fun story you can share, we'd love to hear that as well.
Sure. So I've actually loved every role I've had in the insurance space because it's taught me something different, not only about myself, but about the business. So I've worked in the business from every different angle. But I have to say the roles that inspired me, that where I felt I was adding the most value, were the roles where I was leading innovation, where I was challenging the thought process and being having a technology background, I was always looking at how to make it better, how to make it more efficient. So I was lean before lean was a thing. I was agile before we even had a name for it. I've been iterating through solutions and creating roadmaps and methodologies for decades, long before it was really, as you will, common nomenclature. But if I had to put a pin on one, and I'll explain why. It was my role as an enterprise business architect and innovation leader. My job was to disrupt the current thinking and to figure out how does our business run, and what can we innovate, and how do we deal with the constraints. So, we talk about, various different factors in our business: regulatory, states, how many ways can you slice a personal auto product? Well, you can, if you dare to think about it differently. So I think what I enjoyed the most was changing mindsets. And my favorite story is actually being in the boardroom with the C-suite, explaining to them that they needed to explore how to bundle insurance. Foreign concept. Every single policy was individual, sold over and over again. No concept of the customer from a household perspective, or what were they about. And as Rao mentioned a few minutes ago, we've been doing data for a very long time in the insurance space. So I proposed one of the first data lakes, on the topic of big data, back in 1984. And they all sat there speechless. I wish I had my iPhone then to take a picture, honest to goodness. But we did it. We innovated. We came up with a new strategy, and it dropped to the bottom line for that company in double-digit increase, not only in growth, but in bottom line profit. I'm very proud of that accomplishment. But you have to learn, dare to challenge the status quo. Just because it's been done that way does not mean it still has to be done that way.
Love it. Thanks, Caroline. Rao, how about you?
Well, I had many favorite roles I played, but my favorite role is being the CIO. Uh, I have spent almost like 15 years of my career as a senior vice president and CIO with one large insurance company, and now here at Seibels. As a CIO, you are basically responsible for all the technology operations and development and everything. But at the same time, as an executive, you are part of the C-suite that really makes critical decisions for the company. So me being in both sides, both on the business and also on the technology, first and foremost, when you hear some of the challenges that facing CIOs and business concerns about IT is really what I call alignment problem. The business and IT, most companies are not aligned. So they need to be aligned, that business and IT has to walk step in step to really deliver the business solutions. Technology is all good, but at the end of the day, the question is, what is technology doing to help the business run more efficiently and more effectively? So to understand the business from end to end, not in one particular department, not underwriting, not claims, but end to end, right from the agencies and the managing agency distribution system. And then once you get the insurance application through the door, how does the application flows through in the insurance company, between from clerical to underwriting and sometimes loss control and inspections and everything, and then come to the quoting and proposal and the negotiation process, and then issuing the policy, and then continue to support the policy through endorsements and any midterm changes, cancellations, and then billing, and then claims. Of course, that's the thing that you got to make sure you keep your insured happy, because you're making a promise to deliver when they need it, which is really when they have a claim. So then, and the financial accounting. So when you are as a CIO, you touch every aspect of the insurance company from end to end, understanding the life cycle and improving each process. And sometimes you kind of close down bring down the barriers, so to speak, of siloed organizations, and really kind of look at it from end-to-end perspective, and also bring some of the innovation into the picture. And how do you basically maximize the utilization of the data? You don't want the data to be in a siloed fashion. You got to bring it to organization, a humongous data, and then take advantage of what is available outside. Today, big data, you have a lot of data sources are available, and also make it easy to do business. I mean, the carriers, one of the most challenging things for carriers is really the insurance brokers. Their number one priority is they want easy to do business. How do you enable the brokers to be able to submit applications and get quotes instantaneously? How do you basically improve the service levels by really responding? Because today's users, the insurance insured with millennials, expect everything instance. They want the thing to be like Amazon. So they want the kind of digitization and everything modernization like Amazon. So insurance companies need to step up and basically do this kind of digital service. They want delightful customer service. How can we do that? So as CIOs, I have an opportunity to basically contribute to bringing innovation and improving the service levels of insureds, agents, everybody. So that's the thing I love about this job is really we have an opportunity both outside, and also I get the most satisfaction when I see my business people, underwriters, claims come and tell us that what your group has done has helped us do things more efficiently. So that's what it is all about. So I get so much satisfaction by helping others, and there's nothing more happiness than helping other people.
That's great. That's Rao. Well, certainly the day to day and the role of a CIO, it's no shortage of challenges. And Caroline, just listening to your chief enterprise architecture story, I wish I was a fly in the room, just listening and seeing the faces of folks as you shared this bundled topic and concept of a data lake. That's fantastic. So moving on, just especially for the audience here, and with a theme around mentorship in this industry. Professional development, particularly for young leaders, is a topic we're all keenly interested in. What would you say are some of the key experiences or mentors you've had throughout your career that have really helped build your experience and to where you are today? And if we can start with Caroline, that'd be great.
Sure. So I'll start actually with a question for everyone to ponder. What do you want to be when you grow up? So when I started my career, I had aspirations. I wanted to become a CIO. I wanted to become part of the C-suite, but most importantly, I wanted to change the current thinking. So I sought out mentors who were in those roles, who I admired, who presented themselves in a way where I felt aligned to their thinking, to the way they approached challenges, to the way they led their people. And so I reached out to those people and created a mentor-mentee relationship. And in this case, I was the mentee. And I've had several mentors in my career who have both supported me, encouraged me, but also, and I think where I've grown the most, are those that challenge me. Challenge even the thinker who's outside, who never colored inside the lines, who's always challenging the boundaries, to challenge them even more. And interestingly, my mentors have been both men and women. And the growth I've gained from both of those perspectives is valuable. So as I think about this topic for all of you in the audience, don't limit yourself. Don't box yourself in. And most importantly, don't assume a leader is ever unapproachable. I've taken away a lot of great lessons. And one of them, and the one that's most important to me, is how to be a leader. And what does good look like? And over the years, I've actually framed it, and it's a wisdom in youth mentality, where how do we bring the best wisdom and the most energized youth together to create great outcomes. And I learned that fairly early from a CIO that I reported to, who looked at me and he said, "You're the energy of youth. I'm the wisdom. Let's go change the process." And those words out of that leader gave me permission, gave me the open door to dare to think differently, to challenge the status quo. So my challenge to all of you is go find the leader you want to become and be mentored by them. There's no science to it, guys. There's no formula to this. You will know it within your person if that is the person you choose to be. So go find them. Go find your mentor. I still, to this day, mentor more than a dozen people, men, women, within my space, outside of my space. And I also mentor a young professionals group and have for years, reaching right into colleges and mentoring at the college level into the insurance business. Columbia is a great friend to me, and I've spent many years in Columbia developing and growing teams around the insurance space. So create your formula, go decide who you want to be, and go after it.
Thanks, Caroline. Rao? Oh, Rao, you're on mute.
Sorry, I have to say, somehow in my career, I didn't have like a formal mentors, but I learned by observing that every person I worked with, whether it was my immediate boss or business executives, I am a keen observer and I observe and learn. And one of the reasons I'm really so passionate about mentoring is because I never had a mentor. So I had to learn the hard way. And I do not want the young people to take the hard path I have taken. So that's why I am passionate about giving my knowledge and experience to everyone whoever kind of available to share my knowledge so that they don't need to take the hard path I have been to. And also today you have YouTube, you have internet. And when I started my career, forget about YouTube, no internet, no iPhone. But I learned everything the hard way. And as I said, uh, everyone should be fortunate today with the advances in the technology that enables connecting to anybody around the world. You have LinkedIn, you have so many other things available. Reach out. If you don't ask, you never get. So do not be afraid to ask. Couple of advices I'll give you to some of the people, from a mentorship is there is a difference between mentor and an advisor. Advisor is more like a director. Mentor is more like a guide. He or she guides you. It's like a coach. So make sure the mentor is actually passionate, and also the mentor knows you personally, in the sense get to know get to know you in person, not a generic boilerplate advice. You need a mentor who can give you what is tailored to what your needs are, because everybody is different. The one size does not fit all. So you got to find a mentor who shows keen interest in you, and that's what I would recommend. And the other things is, like anybody starting a career, doesn't matter what particular industry you are, listen and follow the instructions and execute. I do agree with Caroline on really innovation, disruption, and go and do your thing. But then I recommend you take into account the company's culture. For some reason, if you happen to be in a company, the company's culture does not really go with that and they want to execute instructions, then you got to decide if that is what you want to continue or not. But that's your personal choice. But again, what I'm trying to say is all of us would like to do that. And hopefully we all would be fortunate to get into that environment. But sometimes we might end up in an environment may not be that conducive to disruption and innovation and things like that. So then you need to kind of figure it out how you are going to adopt. because there is one quote, and this quote is so appropriate in today's pandemic situation by Charles Darwin. It's not the strongest or not the most intelligent that survive. It's the ones that are adaptable to change. So we are all adopting right now because of the COVID, and we need to continue to adapt to the situation we are in or we are placed, because we don't always have the choice. So sometimes we need to learn to mitigate, and really adopt. So that's what I recommend, adopt. The other thing I just quickly want to add is most of you have some technical skills, whether underwriter or claims or technology, whatever it is, that's a prerequisite. But I highly recommend everyone to put focus on soft skills, communication skills, collaboration, teamwork, time management, planning, networking, and relationship building. These are, I call, not soft skills, essential skills. If you want to be successful, these are the ones you got to focus. The more you get into the career cycle, this is where what you need to do. And the other thing I'll give a piece of advice to everybody: when you are in the business, make the decisions with your head, rational approach. But when you're in the personal relationships, use your heart. So think about business, use your head, and personal, use your heart. That does not mean you don't use your heart in business. You don't want to be a heartless person. You have to be empathetic, and you have to be considerate to the people you are working. But at the end of the day, business is business. So you have to take rational decisions and this thing. And the other thing is, we all know about IQ, but these days there is something called emotional quotient. We all have to understand if we want to be successful in our careers. So just a couple of things I want to add there. Thank you.
Great. Awesome responses from both of you. And hopefully the audience heard a common theme around innovation and challenging the status quo and adapting to the environment. And I think it's a great catapult into the next question that I have for both of you. In that, for a long time, insurance has had a reputation of being a slow adopter of technology. How has the insurance industry's approach to technology changed in the years you've worked in the space? Caroline, if you can take the first stab at that, we'd appreciate it.
Wow, so it's been a long journey. So if I go back to my very first job, which was working in my dad's insurance agency, it was all on paper. Sorry, guys, I know I'm dating myself, but that also put me through school. So I'm proud of those years. The insurance industry, by definition, is all about risk and risk management. And how much risk are we as individuals willing to take on? Well, because we're in the business of risk, we tend to be pretty risk averse ourselves. Always, and I would say almost for the last 30 years, never on the bleeding edge of change, sort of watching other industries embrace change, embrace technology, and watch and see what the results are and calibrate what their risk tolerance was. Well, that worked for a while. But like a lot of industries, margins have shrunk, profitability has shrunk. We've had to think about innovation in a very different way. How do we continue to deliver quality products, superior customer service, faster, less expensively, and constantly be bringing market-pacing change? So for many insurance companies, it was start adopting or think about a different business. And we've seen a lot of M&A in the insurance, merger and acquisition in the insurance space, where the ability to innovate around technology has not been part of their financial objectives, but joining forces with another company, they get some economies of scale. So that's not the only reason we see mergers and acquisitions, but it certainly is definitely one to do that. How has it changed? Technology has enabled speed. It has enabled innovation in the business of insurance, the products, the offerings, being able to be relevant in the market. And in technology, in my belief, is always the enabler. Technology shouldn't drive the business. The business needs to be enabled by it. So through very cautious discipline that's come to play, I think one of the biggest disruptors and accelerators is InsurTech. And like I said before, I was agile before it was a thing. Well, I was InsurTech before it was a thing. And I've had the privilege to watch how technology has gone from being feared to being revered and embraced. And our business has become more technology savvy, and our technologists have become more business savvy. And I think that blending of skills is part of the secret sauce for insurance companies today who are relevant, who are innovating, who are embracing InsurTech to be those accelerators, disruptors in their own business, to bring perhaps a concept to market and see how it goes. So I think lots to come. Rao, you mentioned a very interesting comment around facts. I have a favorite expression that was, by the way, given to me. I learned from one of my mentors in my career. Facts are friendly. The data never lies. So stick to the facts, act with empathy and compassion, but make decisions with a level head. I think that's fantastic advice for everyone to kind of tuck in the back of your mind. So I'm very proud of where the technology world has come for insurance. I've been a part of it and proud to be a part of it, and hope that we continue to disrupt, we continue to innovate, and we continue to change the face.
Awesome. Thanks, Caroline. Rao?
Well, I'm going to be really brief on this topic. I completely agree that we are very slow, the insurance industry, in adopting the technology. I can just take the whole day complaining about it, but I'm not going to do that. But we are better than what we used to be, I must say that. And I am hopeful. If anybody asks me, are we kind of close to being like an Amazon? I would say, no, not there. So people may be asking me, are we there? I keep saying, not yet. And I'll just leave it there.
Stuff. So I want you to, if possible, both of you hold on to the InsurTech M&A thought towards the end of the discussion. I want to park that topic because I want to end on it if possible. But if possible, let's pivot into just the trends in general that you're seeing. So the question I have for both of you is, what are some of the trends in insurance technology that you're watching closely? And are there any that you're excited about as they really make their way into mainstream within the insurance industry space in general? And Caroline, if you can start, please.
Sure. I think if I was to look at some of the trends that are really interesting, it's actually the adoption of technologies to enrich the insurance business and to enrich the process. So if you think about third-party data sources that are seamlessly integrated into the operational processes of an insurance company, I think artificial intelligence, not only on the front end of the process, but embedded in the process, is fascinating. And how we can use artificial intelligence to bring us trend information beyond just analytics and what's hidden in the data around that. The partnership of those things is creating tremendous visibility to what the market is actually thinking, how it's behaving, how it's reacting, and collecting data that they haven't been able to in the past. So I'm very keen on how artificial intelligence is popping up everywhere, from, even on Amazon, you've got a bot to help you. If you can't make a decision, you can ask the concierge. Those kinds of services powered by artificial intelligence is just fantastic. And there really doesn't seem to be a limit to how it can be used to fill gaps, to create efficiencies, and allow insurance professionals to be just that, focused on the business of insurance rather than chasing down a clerical activity, and turning those folks into truly analytical, proactive, forward-thinking professionals in the insurance space.
So, Rao, what are your thoughts?
Well, there are many technologies that are really kind of trending. But first and foremost, I got to say, whatever technology that's being used, it has to fill a gap in the industry. What is the gap that the technology is trying to fill? That's the first and foremost. And then you also have to look at, is it going to help speed to market or customer engagement, underwriting efficiencies, claims efficiencies? These are some of the things that need to be kind of talked about. The insurance, if anybody knows about what's called a combined operating ratio equal to loss ratio plus expense ratio. So loss ratio is total losses divided by premium, and the expense ratio is expenses divided by premium. So there are three variables in there: premium, losses, and expenses. So that's how the entire insurance industry is measured. So what you have to do is increase the premium, decrease the losses, and decrease the expenses. Anytime you can do one of those things, at least, I mean, if you can do all three, fantastic. But at least if you can do one of those three things with whatever technology you're bringing, that's what it needs to be. So you remember, if you're selling more, that means you are increasing your premium. If you are managing your risk better, that means you are decreasing your losses. And if you are costing less to operate, that means you are decreasing your expenses. That's the key thing one has to remember. A lot of technologists miss out this information. Even though it's technology, technology is not the total solution. It is basically triggers what we need from a business solution point of view. So that's what I recommend, is that really understand. And coming to the technologies, IoT and wearables, those are really bring metrics to the table. So that means that's why now usage-based insurance, auto insurance was mostly we pay a flat amount. But now today, most companies are offering based on the miles you drive and your behavior and everything. So the smart cars have all these technologies inside it. So a lot of those things are built on IoT and wearables. Telematics, the same thing. And then drones for inspections in the floods and everything. When people cannot go to the actual home, the drones are taking damage and inspections. Fraud detection, from a claims fraud and everything and all. And big data analytics always there. But the other thing I would really kind of thinking that something is going to pick up is blockchain. See, blockchain, it's going to take a long time to explain, but really blockchain is indelible. That means it's permanent. And the other thing about it is Google came to fame by organizing, and Facebook came to fame by connecting people. The blockchain connects and organizes. So I'm not trying to say that blockchain is going to replace Google and Facebook, but I just want to explain the power of blockchain that can connect and then it can organize also. This is something I do believe that it's going to play some role, specifically when people are involved in terms of multi-payment, subrogation, and those are the areas I do see the blockchain is going to pick up. It's not there yet, but I'm kind of optimistic some of these technologies are going to play a major role.
It's awesome, and especially with blockchain improving just overall efficiency and lowering costs. That all benefits the end consumer, right, and saves money for policyholders. And Rao, just listening to your point around usage-based insurance. I mean, this little thing right here, it's saving me money on my auto. And Caroline, I think a pet insurance, the company I go with uses AI and chatbots to communicate for pet insurance in a mobile app. It's here, it's trending, and it's hopefully improving the industry as well. So that's awesome. So next question, and just a quick time check for our panelists and for our audience. We have about 20 minutes left, and I want to spend a few minutes towards the end of the conversation just giving you an opportunity to add some advice to the folks that are listening, just as they're evaluating their careers and the future in the space. And then I know Ryan wants to wrap up and talk about next steps in terms of our series. But before we get there, I do have 2 or 3 questions left, depending on time here. And the next one that I have is specifically around startups and innovation. More and more we're starting to see established insurance companies, like the name brands that we're all familiar with, partner with startups to help innovate. And so the question that we have for both of you is, what role do you think startups play in a massive and established financial services industry like insurance? And Caroline, if we can give you the first stab at that, that'd be wonderful.
Sure. I think InsurTech and startups and the innovation around them are very important disruptors. They're also accelerators. And for companies that have been in the same shoes for a very long period of time, it disturbs their complacency and it gives them an opportunity to catapult forward, often in more of a pilot mode, to explore new products, new delivery methods, new ways of creating seamless experience from purchase to claim to renewals to everything. And I think it gives them the opportunity to try something new on a scale that balances with their risk tolerance. And we're seeing a lot of big players pick up InsurTechs and bring them in almost as an innovation lab within their organizations to do those things. It's fascinating to see how they're being adopted, but even more so, what it's injecting back into the industry and what folks are, the increase of InsurTechs in the space continues to exponentially expand because they're seeing the opportunity to make a difference. Because when the big companies and even the small companies are looking at InsurTech to innovate with, it brings the whole purpose of InsurTech to life as a real entity, as a real accelerator in the industry. And I think insurance companies are very smart to manage the need to improve their combined ratios through, as Rao said, moving the needle on expenses, on losses, and on premium. But it allows them to do it in a very contained and lower risk manner. So I think they're here, they're going to stay, we're going to see them continue to grow, and we're going to start to see more and more insurance companies bringing in InsurTech and InsurTech concepts to create accelerators.
Cool. And Rao, I know this is a topic near and dear to your heart, and you travel back and forth between the mecca of startups. What are your thoughts here?
Well, it's a humongous challenge for most of the insurance companies to move on to the path of innovation. The thing is that there are actually 2 different types of mindset. The one mindset is the fear of failure, and the other mindset is fear of missing out on opportunities. So if you ask most of the people in Silicon Valley, fall into the second category. They are not afraid of failure. They are worried about missing out on an opportunity. So they jump and just kind of experiment, try, give it a try, and they're not afraid to failure. Okay. A lot of insurance companies in general, because we are in the business of managing the risk, quite a few of them are risk averse. So because of that, there's always the concern of fear of failure. However, that is changing, that innovation labs are coming up and all. This InsurTech partnership started at least 4 years ago. But in the last couple of years, this has kind of transformed into something completely different. What I mean is that most carriers now started their own innovation labs, innovation department, chief innovation officer. Part of that, in my opinion, not all of them, is also triggered by the AM Best is rating the insurance carriers on what's called innovation score since last year. So none of the insurance companies want to be scored low on the innovation score. So they need to do something, which means set up an innovation lab and partner with InsurTechs and conduct hackathons, do whatever it is to create some, you know, some trends in really kind of what is happening and all. So it is happening, but we have to kind of wait and see really how much this is picking up. Pilots by InsurTechs, you know, but at the same time, on slightly on the negative side, I have read an article an year ago, death by pilot. That means poor some InsurTechs continue to do pilot, and never some of those pilots don't materialize into actual contracts, and they run out of the money. So the InsurTechs have to be careful about making sure how many pilots you choose. It's a tough decision, because if a carrier comes and says we want to do pilot, the InsurTechs are excited, you know, rightfully. But then you know how many you're going to take, and so one has to be careful. The InsurTechs jumping onto the pilot bandwagon, but they got to do it. But the traditional insurance companies, when they start the innovation lab, first and foremost, they need to build a culture and create an environment that is safe from penalizing for failures, you know. So you have to encourage people to experiment and basically let them kind of create an innovation atmosphere. And individuals, what I would say, you have to develop observation skills. You learn from observing and experiment, and you should be asking questions, you know, and then you got to connect things that you learned from last year, connect it to today, and see how you can do that. Steve Jobs is was one of the best in connecting things. That's how he connected multiple things. And experimentation, networking, these are all important things that you have to do. And encourage the idea generation. You might want to create like a website. People will put in ideas, and then you kind of go through those ideas, encourage everybody to participate, you know, organize some contest, make it like what I call a gamification to really kind of encourage this thing. And the last thing, innovation is a journey. It's a continuous process. Innovation shouldn't be stopping. Well, we finished innovation. There's no such kind of thing. You have to continue the journey. And finally, when you have this thing, you have to connect both economically and emotionally. So I call this 2EC. Economic connection should be there. Emotional connection should be there. What you're bringing to the table should make sense economically, but also you should be able to connect to the decision makers emotionally. So that's what I would say.
Good. So last question for the group, and then we're going to give you both an opportunity to share some advice with the audience, and then we'll hand the reins over to Ryan to close us out for today's session. But you know, Caroline, you had brought up M&A and InsurTech earlier in our conversation, and I want to end on a question specific to that. Now, there's been a lot of excitement and certainly high dollar investments from PE firms, venture capital firms, and InsurTech the past several years. So the question for both of you is, do you think this is just a phase, or do you think some of these companies will truly disrupt insurance for the better? And Caroline, if you can take us home on that question, would be great.
Absolutely. Well, I think I've already revealed my hand on that one. So absolutely. So there is so much room for more. And I do not think InsurTech is a fad, a passing whim in any way, shape, or form. I've been involved in the InsurTech community for many years now, even before it was as formed as it is today. I've had the pleasure of being an advisor to several InsurTech firms. They don't all survive, guys. It's high risk, but it's high reward. And what I find fascinating is insurance companies are beginning to have an appetite to say, I'm ready to take a little more risk, because if we come up with that one great idea, and that's a way that we can catapult ourselves forward in the industry, it's worth it. Rao touched on pilots and pilot to death, and pilots never materialized into real results in some cases. That is a risk with InsurTechs, and it's always a balance. But if we go and we track some of the innovations that have come out of InsurTech, It's amazing. Companies like Geico, companies who look at how Nationwide is using InsurTech strategies to help reinvent their direct-to-consumer business. And in many cases, the big players who were never in the DTC space are now playing there. And that was enabled by a pilot and by a risk taker who said, time to think differently. So I think they're absolutely here to stay. And I think they're a great motivator to the insurance industry as a whole, because these innovations are needed. And let's see where it goes. I'm very excited to see what's around the corner. What's the next exciting breakthrough out there, because it's there and it's coming. And it's a blast to be a part of it. It really is.
Excited too. Rao, how about you?
Well, I'm hoping all these InsurTech investments pay off, not only from industry perspective, from my own personal perspective, because I have been doing a lot of these mentorships and advising for quite a few Silicon Valley startups, quite a few of them in InsurTechs. So I have a lot of equity in these firms, so I'm clapping for them. So in addition to the industry, I have my own personal interest and looking for one of these is going to take off. So that's a disclaimer, and just making sure that everybody knows that I have some interest in InsurTechs because I'm an advisor / mentor, and a lot of times so they compensate me through equity. Anyway, keeping that aside, honestly, I'm hoping more are going to come out. Only one that I think it's a true disruptor at this point, there may be many, but in my opinion is the Lemonade. Lemonade just definitely disrupting the insurance industry. I'm hoping few more of those things are going to come, but also want to say that the InsurTechs, not only that there are independent InsurTechs, but some of the large carriers, they have innovation labs, but they are very confidential. So I know there are in Silicon Valley, there are some innovation labs that people do not know that lab actually does exist. And that lab is actually sponsored by one of the leading national carriers and things like that. So there's activity going on, absolutely. And some of them are public, some of them are extremely confidential and nobody knows about it. You don't hear that in the press, you don't hear anywhere, but once the product is successful, then that's comes out and on. So there is activity going on and it's going to continue in my opinion for a while. So we haven't seen Uber come out in the insurance industry, something equivalent of Uber. Lemonade is the closest I can say, but I'm hoping some more are going to come out. So that's, I have a big hope on that.
Both of you. So I promised Ryan I would give him about 4 minutes to wrap us up. And before we hand the reins over to Ryan, I think it would be really great for the audience if you each can maybe share 60 seconds or so, just parting advice and closing statements in the theme of mentorship back with the group and in the audience. And Caroline, if you can start, please, that'd be wonderful.
Sure. Actually, my advice to you is simple. Dare to dream. Set your goals. Decide what you want to go after and do it. Don't be afraid. Listen and learn with conviction. Observe and be open. Don't assume or prejudge anything. My mother used to say to me, never judge a book by the cover. And if I'd done that in my career, I wouldn't be sitting here today. I dared to push the envelope. And I have to say, as a woman in this industry, that's not trivial. So a message to all the young women out there, lean into your role, make a difference, because you have so much to contribute and you have so much value to add, and it enriches everyone's point of view when you do that. So find a mentor, think about what you want to be when you grow up, dare to dream about it, and make your plan. I'm a really planful person. So having had a career in and around professional services and project delivery and project management, I'm not as spontaneous as you might think, but I can be in the moment, but it's part of my plan. So create a plan, go after it. And there is so much opportunity in this business to do that today more than ever. So if you have the opportunity to join us, congratulations. You'll never regret it. Good luck.
Well said. Thanks, Caroline. And Raul, in about 60 seconds or so, can you please share?
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, my advice is go to your strengths. That's the biggest advice I give, is find out what your strengths are and go to your strengths. And there is a book called Go to Your Strengths by Marcus Buckingham. He's a British author. He lives in LA. I attended his speech a long time ago. It's an excellent book. Always find out what your strengths are, go to your strength. Keep current. Just always keep with what's happening in the industry that you are in, no matter what the industry is. Have a growth mindset. Always continue to learn. Don't stop learning. I learn every single day. Read books, attend industry events. The fact you are attending this session tells me that you are falling into that category of growth mindset. That itself is a big positive. And then develop passion for what you do. You know, if you're not passionate about what you do, find something that's passionate. And also don't be afraid of failure. Pivot if needed. You know, most of the successful startups, not necessarily they hit the home run in the first ball. Okay, so even in the baseball you get 3 strikes. So just use it to your advantage and just kind of pivot as needed. The other thing is be comfortable with ambiguity. Not everything is black and white. A lot of them are gray. So you need to understand how to deal with the gray. So not everything is binary, like 1 or 0, yes or no. So there may be things that you need to do. And then I always say, if you want to go to the moon, you can't fight the gravity. You need to learn how to mitigate. So that's what it is. And finally, every single day, try to be better than yourself from yesterday. And find a mentor who can help you with these kind of things. And that's kind of pretty much what I have to say today. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Raul. And thank you, Caroline, for taking time out of your busy schedules to share just your experience with the audience here today. Ryan, over to you.
Awesome. Well, thanks a lot. It's been great having you both today. Got a couple housekeeping items I want to wrap up on real quick. First and foremost, you know, if it was up to the Its.Cola talent committee, we'd all be doing this in person. And, you know, in keeping with the theme of lunch and learn, I'm sure we would like to, at some opportunity, you know, host everybody for an actual lunch together in person in the future. Unfortunately, the timing's probably not the best right now. So the talent committee said, hey, we want to do something special for the attendees. And so we've got a couple gift cards that we have pulled together for some local restaurants. Since Its.Cola is by Columbia and for Columbia, we've got some nice local restaurants, Gourmet Shop, Home Team Barbecue, Cantina 76, and Small Sugar. And to give away our 2 gift cards for today, I'm going to list the help of my panelists real quick. So we've got 27 participants on right now. Caroline and Raul, could you both select a number for me between 1 and 27 real quick, and I will pick our gift card winners for today.
21. It was a great year.
Raul, you're on mute.
24.
So I've got Savannah Newkirk as one of our winners. And I've got a phone number for, wait, no, let's see.
I think it's the Hecht.
7654 Zoobs. Zoobs, just the name Zoobs. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. Okay, cool. We won't belabor that, y'all. I've got your contact information through the registration, so we can follow up with both of you after this and make sure that we get those gift cards out to y'all after the fact. So our next event will be coming up on June 22nd. We will be having the second in our Lunch and Learn series, Tuesday, June 22nd, lunchtime again, and our next feature will be on entrepreneurs and startups. So people who have gone out and created their own businesses, and we'll have more information coming out on that next week through our social media channels once we firm up a couple more details. If you'd like to learn more about Its.Cola, please feel free to visit our website, www.itscola.com. Again, interested in growing, our local insurance technology and services base here. And we're keenly focused on talent, technology, and developing our leadership here in the Columbia area. So thanks to everyone who's attended today. Thanks to Kay Hampton in my office, who has kind of helped co-host and, kind of moderate some things behind the scenes. Thanks to Gabe for volunteering to be our guinea pig. Our esteemed moderator for the day. We appreciate you stepping up to the challenge. Thanks most of all, again, to Caroline Berman with Lee Hecht Harrison and Rao Tadepalli with Seibels for taking time out of their busy days to come and talk with us. We really appreciate all your knowledge and insight. And thanks to everyone else who joined us for this discussion. And we look forward to seeing you again next time.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you. Appreciate everybody joining. Thank you.